Back on In Focus tonight, South Africa's foreign partners will be closely watching developments around the country's government of national unity. This as President Cyril Ramaphosa prepares to announce his new cabinet, which will include other parties. For more on what this could mean for diplomatic relations, let's speak now to the German ambassador to South Africa, Andreas Peschke. Your Excellency, good evening, and thank you very much for your time this evening here on In Focus. What will a government of national unity mean as far as the other international partners with varying geopolitical views?
Well, first of all, our sincere congratulations to the inauguration of the president. I think that is a historic day for South Africa. First time in the history of democracy in South Africa, a president that has been elected with a majority made up of more than one party. So I think it's an important day for South Africa. But as you said, it's also an important day for South Africa's international partners. So for us and for many other countries around the world, South Africa is a very important partner on the African continent. We really want a strong and self-confident South Africa. And if the government of national unity can deliver on that, as well as successfully tackling challenges that may exist inside South Africa, then I'm sure a lot of partners around the world would be very happy.
What would the partners like to hear, particularly around certainty on our foreign policy position?
Well, you know, South Africa really plays a crucial role in international affairs in the United Nations as a country and important voice that puts a lot of emphasis on multilateralism, on the United Nations, on solving international problems, using our international institutions on an active contribution to conflict resolution. And I think that is something we would really hope. And we are actually optimistic from what we hear, speech today by the president, statements of other political leaders that form that government of national unity, that South Africa is intent on really working towards these goals. So that is important for us to maybe put it in a short formula. South Africa always stood for an approach that puts right before might in order to solve international problems. And I think this voice and this role is very much needed in international affairs.
Of course, South Africa and Germany close ties around education, around technology, around energy as well. How strong is Germany's commitment to South Africa on those fronts? Well,
we have a partnership of long standing. Actually, our Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, sent a congratulatory message to His Excellency the President, where he put emphasis on this partnership over quite a number of years. It is broad, intensive. It touches upon the economy, cultural affairs, technology, scientific cooperation. So it's actually quite intensive. I think it's one of our most intensive partnerships and relationships on the African continent. And I think we are very much committed to a continuation of this partnership. We think and we hope that the government of national unity would see it likewise and like to cooperate with us, not only on solving international problems, but also in helping each other, our countries, taking our countries forward by deepened cooperation. So we are very strong here in South Africa in the automotive sectors with investments in other sectors as well. But we also have South African investments in Germany by companies like Aspen or Sasol and others. So I think these are the things we would like to continue, as well as, the president mentioned today the necessity to fight climate change as a task for all of us. So that is also one of the areas where South Africa and Germany cooperate quite closely. And I think we would very much like to continue that cooperation.
One of the issues, of course, is tackling energy availability. I mean, is a government of national unity attractive to investors from Germany coming this way who would want to invest in some projects?
Yeah, energy availability, of course, is a key factor for investment conditions in any country, including also in South Africa. So I have a feeling that South Africa in the last year has made important progress in that area, also in trying to modernize the energy sector by putting in place other new regulations as well. So I think if this trajectory continues, then this is certainly positive also for investors. You know, it's now up. We have seen the statement of intent of the partners in the Government of National Unity. Now everything is about implementation, really delivering on concrete policies. And one of the things is, of course, the investment climate that would make South Africa to stay attractive to international investors. So that is a factor that needs to be borne in mind. So we are, I mean, I know for a fact that German companies are very interested to continue their commitment or start new commitments, new engagements. Also bearing in mind social responsibility and the necessity to tackle social questions, to create jobs in this country. So I think it is the conditions are basically quite good. Now it all revolves about the concrete implementation of this statement of intent into concrete policies by the Government of National Unity. We are quite confident when we speak to politicians, political actors, technocrats that are part of that of the political parties that will form the Government of National Unity. That there is a good basis for an understanding. But now we're going to see how the formation of the government is going to continue. So we are ready to cooperate, and we are quite optimistic, and we hope that once the government is formed, that we really can start at a high speed.
2025, of course, South Africa looking ahead to hold the position of president of the G20 group. You are part of that. Still confident in South Africa's leadership in that forum?
Well, that's going to be a big challenge for any country. I remember our G20 chairmanship when we had it in Germany, just from an organizational point of view. Well, it's going to be the first time that the G20 will be hosted on the African continent. So it's going to be another historic point that South Africa is taking on the presidency. I think, there has already been quite a lot of logistical preparations. There had been first briefing and so on and so forth. Of course, everybody had to wait for the formation of the new government. I think South Africa is going to be a perfect host, and actually is putting emphasis on a lot of themes and topics that are important. Development issues, climate issues, and issues that concern the African continent that needs to be reflected upon in the G20. So I think it's going to be an interesting and fruitful G20 presidency. And I'm actually quite hopeful that South Africa will be a wonderful chair.
Yeah. Within that group, and one of South Africa's priorities, I mean, there are many, but clearly from the president's speech, I'm sure you would have picked up, is to accelerate inclusive and resilient growth. If you were to give some pointers and advice, what would be the things that you would point to?
Well, I think it's obvious that in any country that faces a combination of social and economic challenges, you would need a combined answer. So we have a high unemployment, not only in South Africa and other countries as well, but we have too little growth. Actually, that is something that is common to both our countries. We also have too little growth at the moment in Germany. So I think our efforts need to be directed two ways. One is to spark economic growth, which is quite important to kickstart the economy, to produce more wealth that in turn can be distributed. And the other thing is, of course, putting emphasis on social questions, on trying to bring work to people, to get people into employment. And one example actually is when you talk about modernizing the energy sector, bringing in new modern sources of energy like solar energy, wind energy. I think it's all good to talk about alternative sources of energy, but I think with every conversation about new sources of energy, we need to focus also on the employment aspects. How will it be possible to create jobs around these new sources of energy that eventually may be lost in other areas of the economy? So I think a discussion which doesn't put emphasis on jobs in a context like South Africa is actually, as a futile discussion, is not helpful. So we have to combine both a social and an economic approach.
Ambassador, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on. That is the German ambassador to South Africa, Andreas Peschke there.